Have you heard that song before? I kind of thought it might be something new to you. I'm glad it was in the archive, though, thanks to Shar. Yeah, I don't know about you, but there was a point in my life when I started asking a different question about why I'm here. And in large part, the early part of my life was all about what I can do, what I can accomplish, what I can acquire, how I can bring significance to myself. And, right around somewhere in my mid-30s, it began to feel somewhat empty because I had actually kind of achieved some things that I thought would make me happy. And guess what? Not so much. And, I just, of course, things happen when they're supposed to happen. I believe that. But I realized that I had spent a lot of time in those years which were really not contributing to shall we say, the greater good. Anyway, I've sort of dedicated my life to reversing that question since then, and have had mixed results in how well I've accomplished for that goal. But I think it's just a really important question to move from what to why. So many, even organizationally, have you all heard of Simon Sinek? He's not a cynic, S-I-N-E-K. He's not a cynic, that kind of cynic. He's a organizational development specialist, and he has some wonderful talks out on YouTube. And what he says is people follow organizations and they buy products not because of what it is, but because of the why. What is it? What's the compelling reason for a company to do what they do? What's a compelling reason for you and I to do what we do? When we get into that question, then it exfoliates sort of the falseness of our doing life and forces us to sort of go down into the roots of our being and ask us, from this place, from my essential humanity, why should I do what I'm doing? And if it serves something beyond ourself, then it excites us, it lights us up in a way that our own personal satisfaction from completing a goal in which we get what we want, but it doesn't necessarily have it doesn't have benefits for the greater good, which falls into the category of feeling shallow. And then we have to do that again and yet again and yet again, hoping that if we acquire enough things for ourselves, that will fill this God-sized hole in us. Yes. So I wasn't planning on talking about that, but then you know how it goes. I listened to that song and it took off. So that's the way it goes. So today's talk from this forward will be a little different because, normally what I talk about is the inside out approach to spirituality. In other words, it's in finding the inner truth of what we are that influences how life sort of unfolds and how we experience life. But today I want to sort of reverse that, and I want to talk about how the external influences the internal experience. And we're here today to talk about spiritual community. And there's lots of discussion because we have this rampant capacity, this extraordinary capacity to plug into all kinds of spiritual inspiration through the World Wide Web, right? Does anyone call it that anymore? I don't know. Internet. Yeah. The internet, but we all know what it is. Some of us are older and we remember older words. And some people go, oh, you must be from then. Yes, we are. You got us. So with all of that being out there, then it's easy to fall into this conclusion, if we allow ourselves to, that we don't really need this, because we can get this spiritual food, much better than what this guy is doing or this person is doing. And we can get all that we want. If I want, 2 hours of spiritual inspiration, the 20-minute sermon, that's not enough. I need 2 hours. I can get that on the internet. Or if I want to listen to talk on prosperity because I'm dealing with that, I can just find that out there. I don't have to listen to whatever the minister du jour in my church is talking about. And we can come up with all these reasons to say there's this plethora of spiritual inspiration in the world. And why then would we confine ourselves to this finite expression? I've got some ideas, though. Let me just share mine real briefly. I hope I can do this briefly. I'm old. It takes a while sometimes, but let me just start with that point, which is for that first 35 years or whatever of my life, I was living from outside in. In other words, I was trying to figure out how I could get things right out here in order to feel happy and peaceful and love here. And that was the equation that seemed to be best practices from the way the culture I was grew up in and the family I grew up in, because my parents grew up in a culture where there was not enough in large part. And there was an emphasis on you have to get a good education, you have to be bright, you have to be successful. You do those things, you'll have money, you won't be poor, you can have the things that make the American dream, a happy life. Follow this, and I did. And you know the story, I've told it many times, that when I was somewhere in my mid-30s, I'm looking out over the ocean from a beautiful home and overlooking the Pacific with a brand new baby. And I thought, well, I made it. And I was inside. This looked good, the external looked great. So that was my intention then, to find that. And I tried lots of different things. Like many of us do, we don't immediately find the answer. But fortunately, one day I walked into a community church, and it was exactly what my soul, my body, my everything needed at the time. And it just so happened that it was like, the hand and the glove were just the perfect fit for me at that time. And a lot of other people, because I was of the age at that time that a lot of people born at the same time I were starting to have children, and they were sort of living out this dream that was supposed to offer this promise of happiness and peace and well-being and love and the good life. And a lot of people were finding, much like Martin Luther King said, we tried to cash the check and it came back insufficient funds. It just couldn't do what it can't do. So that was my journey. And what I discovered was something that I had left out of my plan in my life at that point, was the importance of other people, other than those people immediately close to me. And I had never done any volunteer work in those 35 years. And once I went into this community, and I was receiving so much every Sunday, I would sort of have these epiphanies, and I would walk out crying and, doing all these things that were very out of character for a rational-minded person, that I knew something was happening, and it was really shifting something fundamentally shifting something in me. It wasn't doing anything to change the exterior initially, but it was doing everything to change my perspective, how I saw things, what I valued, what mattered to me. Like this song, sort of like, I realized there was a whole part of my life that I had left, in the dark. I had ignored, which was my inner life. So as this began to get exposed to the light of truth, then I thought, well, this community has extraordinary value for me, and I would hope for other people. But so I began volunteering, and the volunteering was a whole nother aspect of my heart that I hadn't touched before. Because when you do something and the only compensation you don't receive any worldly compensation, then you realize that you get to feel what it feels like to live as a selfless being in a moment. Just even going and cleaning up the kitchen or whatever it is, you have this feeling of it's so real, it's so authentic, and it's so pure. And that expanded my heart. That gave me a feeling of a whole other dimension of my being that I had not known about before. So when you live from inside out, then you become a more whole person. And it extends to the world. It extends to the people that are around you. And then you become, not even unwittingly even, you become somewhat of an example if other people would look at you in that way and say, oh, I want what you're having, what do you do? Well, I go to Unity and I meditate and I listen to these teachings and I try to live them and I volunteer and I try to, look at the world through the eyes of truth. I want what you're, So let me get into the more didactic. 5 reasons for having a spiritual community. Are you up for this? You got your note paper? You ready to write this down? We're recording. So shared learning and growth. Shared learning and growth. Yeah, you can sit by yourself and do this, right? But what about the shared, the exchange of ideas and the insights and the experiences we have? We do this like at the end of our services, right? Where we share it. And what is the significance, not just of your own experience, but when you hear someone else share their experience? Doesn't it sort of like expand and deepen your understanding? It seems to me it does. And then support and encouragement, because don't we know that there's challenges and doubts and confusion on the spiritual path? Amen? Do we know this? And when you're surrounded by people that are on this path with you, there is the opportunity for you to be able to tap into their presence, their companionship, their understanding as part of your walk, as part of your way of finding clarity when confusion is where you are currently. And then vice versa, when you're at that place of clarity and someone else is going through their period of their dark night or their confusion or their doubt, you can be that for them. You can know the truth when they can't. And then there's accountability. And this is, some people that are in 12-step programs understand this very well, accountability. It's not like we hold people's feet to the fire, but if you're committed to your spiritual practice and you model that, and other people come to find out, oh, if I was more committed, if I was, attending these services and these classes and my meditation practice on a constant basis, that's going to make a difference in my life, because look at Jane over here, how she's done this, and look how she's grown, and so accountability is a big part of it. And then diverse perspectives. We embrace that here in Unity, right? Some faiths don't. They would say, oh, keep your diversity of perspectives, at the door, please. But we're here really because we believe that the truth is the truth is the truth, that it doesn't need to be censored in any way, because it will reveal its truth as we uncover the depth of our own being. We will see it for what it is. And then lastly, the safe space for expression, a safe, non-judgmental environment where individuals can express their thoughts and experiences, and that can lead to healing, catharsis, and deeper self-discovery. Amen? Amen. So, when church that I was leading was going through a tough time, and there was concern whether this ministry was going to thrive or not. We began talking, the way we've talked around here. And that whole question of, do we really need a spiritual community, was sort of, it was sort of at its infancy in terms of the world, but I wrote this, I thought I would share it with you. It starts with a quote by Goethe. He says, "The world is so empty if one thinks only of mountains, rivers, cities. But to know someone here and there who thinks and feels with us, who though distant is close to us in spirit, this makes the earth for us an inhabited garden. The internet has created a web that literally connects every corner of the earth, making it possible for billions of world citizens to become a part of virtual community. Yet we have never been more fragmented, more isolated. Desmond Tutu calls it a radical brokenness in all of existence. Our drive toward technological sophistication has contributed to our isolation. We have forgotten or discounted our human need for real connection that is face to face and heart to heart and soul to soul. What chat room or video conference could ever approximate no offense, the inimitable preciousness of listening and sharing, of recognizing the me that is you and the you that is me? Real community remains relevant, essential, and never timelier because so many have forgotten the core human need and source of connection is found in relationship to another. When we add the element of the challenge of spiritual awakening, the Sangha or the spiritual community provides the essential assurance that one is not alone in their struggle to grow. Companions who understand, who have lived the inevitable difficulties of the journey. Community gives us a sense of belonging. In a community, we can share our journey, which can lighten our burdens and deepen our joys. There's a collective energy in community that can buoy our spirits, especially if we've been struggling on our own. And Jesus said, where two or more are gathered, there I am. There are those who say that churches and spiritual communities are becoming irrelevant and unnecessary since the internet provides a vast supply of spiritual inspiration. It is true that there is a plethora of spiritual food available online. However, those who attend Unity on a regular basis consistently report something that happens in the space, with the people, in the moment of inspiration and connection. It is sacred. It is powerful. It is the palpable presence of spirit. It is, as Jesus phrased it, two or more gathered with the intention to seek the truth together. Hearts open, walls come down, and there is a feeling of unity and love. Until there's an app for that, let's keep the doors open. So, we'll share a few testimonials, and then it will be your turn. I have another page, but for me, Unity is a safe, supportive place to explore my spiritual path with an active, heart-centered community which encourages growth and transformation. At the Sunday morning services, I feel nourished at the core of my being. I feel honored and blessed to be part of Unity and hope to be an active member for many years to come. Another person said, I refer folks regularly to our church for the same reasons that I came. I wanted to expand my practical connection with the divine and to further develop a spiritual approach to all aspects of my life. Unity guides me in doing so. It's my heart's home. Another woman says, as I walk through those doors, I immediately feel the love and acceptance and caring that is so very needed in life. Anyone else know that one? Yeah. I feel at home. Unity stresses that we are all one. To learn that God is within and is always present is so powerful, and I learned that here at Unity, and to know that it's within and that I can find serenity and happiness and the real meaning of life. To learn that I have choices no matter what the situation. I can be a poor me or say, now, how do I work through this? Unity has transformed the way I approach my day-to-day life. Every day, not just on Sundays. I feel a sense of peace and connection with God that I could not even dream of before finding Unity. If this greater love and joy isn't enough by itself, the continual reinforcement from Unity that I can continue to grow spiritually provides a level of comfort that transcends simple explanation. My Garden of Eden is the place that my unity-inspired, ever-evolving perspective takes me, regardless of life circumstances. And for this, I am eternally grateful to unity. Now, I've been in ministry quite a long time, and I would say I probably have over 100 of those testimonials. If some of you are hard cases and you aren't easily convinced that unity can make a powerful difference in one's life. And it isn't just the minister, it isn't the community. I've been in numerous communities, and I've been the minister, and I've been in the background. And all those testimonials remain. So, what I'd like to hear, let's make this personal. Can we get personal for a minute? And let me hear from you what you value about this spiritual community, how you feel that it's something essential, if you will, in your life. We got a microphone, so wait for the mic. Glenn's got a hand up.
20 years ago, my wife had a massive stroke at age 50, and I took her to Kauai to find healers that could maybe help her. And we've met many, and one of them said, "Go to the Unity service, and you'll really enjoy it." So I did. I took her there, and it turns out that of all the many healers that we had met, they were all there in the service. And so I was 50 at the time, and up until then, I had a deep inner spiritual life, but it was my own. It was private. It was I was, maybe you could call, a loner, and so when at this service, the minister was a retired Los Angeles police chief. So he was somebody who you couldn't, his BS meter was like, he knew what was going on. He'd seen it all. And I went up to him and I said, "Hey, you really spoke some powerful words there." And he, we're all in short sleeves because it's Kauai. He grabbed me by the arm and he pulled some of my flesh. And he said, "You can spend time by yourself, but sometimes you need some of this. You need some skin." And he nailed it. So from then on, I've been involved personally in different communities. And as an interfaith minister, I've worshiped in Buddhist, Hindu, Muslim, Baha'i, Christian, Catholic, Buddha, you name it. And I have found community in every one of those places. So unity to me means all of it. But as Jesus said, we're all Christ. So as Jesus said, get out there and practice fellowship. And you will experience Sangha wherever you go, whether it's in a church or in the grocery store or on the street. Be the light that you are. Be the light that you are. And that is what we're doing right now, right here and right now, and everybody here. And there's not a single person in here that I don't have a deep love for, that I have met and who have touched my soul and changed my life. So thank you, Larry. I love you. I'm grateful for you.
Thanks, Glenn. Appreciate it. Anyone else want to share? Andrew.
I would just say that maybe this is kind of a restatement, but to me it's really clear that what I love about this church is the teachings in kind of a broad sense. Also in a broad sense, I really love the community of people who are here and the openness and the care and concern. And in specific terms, I love that we sing together. Love that we stand in a circle and hold hands. We can see each other in that circle. That we share in sorrows at times, and that we break bread together every Sunday after our meeting. Well, those are really specific things to me that so.
Yeah, thank you, Andrew. Yeah, I mean, and if you look at what you've said, those are really sort of ancient practices. Those didn't come into popularity just in recent modern times. And there's something to be said for that which stands the test of time, right? Which is spiritual communities have had a value when way before there was an internet, and yet still here there still is this thing. I like the grabbing the flesh. Well, some people like the hug, some people don't. But it's just being in the physical space with another person. That's different than being online with the divine and your brothers and sisters. They have measured that difference, those who measure energy fields. It's a connection, it's a form of connection, but it doesn't meet all of the human needs that we have, and it doesn't have the same effect on us. So I think until that can be something that can be approximated by technology, then I think we're sort of stuck with each other in this space, which to me is, if you're going to be stuck, I'll take this over a lot of places of being stuck, So, anyone else? Oh yeah, from Diane?
One of the things I've noticed about for myself, and in thinking about just what I was going to say here, I realize it's true for a lot of people that are here, is that coming here, there's a connection with people that are really open to walk on a spiritual path, a connection with the divine, to learning what the truth of our being is, and everybody's different in how they would talk about that's here. And I think that's what
Yeah.
that's what I have found. One of the things I've found here is that place where it's like alone, like you're talking about, and having our own sort of, loner, deep spirituality is one thing, but having a place where you can go, where you're welcomed, and you can share your gifts. Because I feel this and wanting to share, whatever my gifts are. And I've noticed that with Glenn. I've noticed that with Judy. I've noticed that with everybody here. Sandra, you. It's about sharing our gifts, being that light and letting it flow through us. And so I'm grateful for a place where I can shine my light and experience everybody else doing the same.
Yeah, and that's it starts out here, but then it becomes a blessing to the community. In other words, the satisfaction, it's on its way to others. It first blesses you. It's like, that's why Jesus said, giving is receiving. When you give, it first blesses you. You feel the joy of giving. The selflessness of that, which selfless means egoless, reaches by yourself. You feel that when you give, and then the community is blessed by your unconditional gift, and the consciousness gets raised. It's just a beautiful thing. I mean, I've seen it over and over. People come in this, and they're so hurt, they're so wounded, and so closed down. And if they stay with it, and it's their time, little by little, the arms come apart and there's more of a present listening. And then if there's a continual willingness, then there's an openness, and then there's an accessibility that that person's heart can be reached by the teachings. And then there could be a flowering, of the love and the joy that was suppressed by life, by hard times and difficulties. It's such a great vantage point to be a part of a community and watch that happen. It's a beautiful place of witnessing the unfoldment of a flower, that was all closed up and in fear. So it's not a small thing. It's a big thing. It's probably the biggest thing if we really understand it, its full impact.
Thank you, Larry. Thank you, everyone that shared so far. For me, it's my lifeline, the teachings here at Unity and all around the world, the teachings that we have learned here in Unity that helps to open us up, to open our hearts and to expand and to reach out and touch one another in a way that is integrity and truth. So we don't all have to agree. We still can be who we are and feel one and feel not separated from anyone, but right in there in their hearts with them. And I've gone through so many losses in my lifetime and grief, many griefs, and dark nights of the soul experiences. And if I had not had been led by divine intervention, coming from me in all directions and all colors and all sizes, bringing me back to this space, wherever I am, to a place of unity, where I get to meet some of the most amazing people, I don't think I would be here today. I really don't.
I know I wouldn't be.
Oh, yeah. And when I fall out, like the fallen angel, or so, as they say, you fall in grace or disgrace, I go right to unity, and I start remembering who we are and the light we are. And I love that unity empowers us to be that person that we are, to be the gifts that we are. And that's one thing I really, really like about unity, is it's let go of your ego, let go, just be open and stand in your truth. And you are always there. You're there. And so if I'm alone at home because I don't drive anymore and I don't always get out, and sometimes I feel sorry for myself, I think about all the people that have supported me. And each and every one of you came from unity, not somewhere else, not from my neighbor. Well, I do have a good neighbor who does drive me crazy sometimes. I love you, Wayne, but he has been there for me. But it's y'all. It's every one of y'all that is here for me, and I'm here for you. And I want y'all to know that. And it's okay that we don't always agree, because we have just so much light around us to support us and carry us through. And we are social beings. And yes, unity, the internet is wonderful, but it's not the same as you said about somebody driving you down. It's the touching, the flash, the heart. So I've read an article just recently from the psychologist, psychiatrist, scientist, how our brains work, how our bodies work. And one of the top 5, not so much exercising, which is good, and the walking, which is good for your heart, and if we are not socializing, if we're not being with people of like mind, we cannot survive without that social touch, connection, community. And community is everywhere, wherever we are. So if we lose some kind of physical form or shape, we got each other. And we can always figure out what to do next. Thank you.
Susan.
I'd just like to share that I grew up in a big family, and we're not really friends. But all of the people here, they all have something that is different than me. It's just, they don't agree on something or whatever. But it just seems that doesn't matter. It's where the heart comes together here. That's where we meet, not where we don't meet. but where we do meet. And it gives me a freedom to say, you know, I don't have to worry about that with them. You know, that's theirs. What I know is their heart is here, and I can meet them at their heart, and that's what I need. You know, my family of origin will never get that, and even my own kids won't get that. But you guys get that, and I need that.
It's so great that you recognize that, Susan. You know, it's the that Rumi quote about out beyond the field of right and wrong. No, out beyond right and wrong, there is a field. I'll meet you there. And that's that place, I think, that gets created when our agreement is a soul level. It's not necessarily here on circumstantial level, at the surface level. That's what Jesus said, don't judge by appearances, because there's a deep knowing, a truth. And that's where we're all in agreement, soul agreement. And if you can feel that here, then that's not something you're probably going to feel in your workplace necessarily, or a lot of other places where we gather. So great that you recognize that, and it allows you to be present. That's what makes the unity and diversity, right?
Okay, so I just wanted to say, if it weren't for Judith, I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't have ever met any of you. I don't know, I was on an island in South Carolina when I decided I needed to come up here in 2017 to be near my family, and I tried, and no one was going to give me that chance to rent a room or have communal living or anything of that nature. And then I connected with Judith through the Unity Church, and she welcomed me sight unseen. We'd had a few conversations, but it was meant to be. And so May 31st, 2017, I came and lived with Judith, and then I moved to Port Townsend a few months later, and started working in the high school there. The virus changed my life. I left when the schools closed in 2021, or it was 2020, well, the end of that. And then I was gone for 4 years. I mean, it's just a weird spiral here. I didn't really stay in touch with too many people, except Sandra always answered her phone. And I didn't even really, we weren't best buddies or besties or anything, but there she was, you know, with a cheerful voice and how are you? And just more than happy to hear from me. Didn't matter what time it was, you know, she was here, I was 3 hours difference. And so then when I made my way back, which was not easy, so I knew that I love this community, I love this part of the world, and I have 3 young granddaughters that live not too far from Seattle, in the Seattle area, and they're really, love is powerful, and that's what I wanted to see them grow up. I came back, and here's the church, and you know, here's Marla helping me get through the months of housing insecurity, and then now I speak with or text with a couple, or be in touch with a couple of members here every night, because we all live alone, and it's just a wonderful way to say, yes, I'm here and I'm still alive and I'll be here tomorrow. So anyway, it's just, and then the friends I've met, it's just amazing. The support I've had living kind of, you know, flying by the seat of my pants and, you know, trying to make my way. So getting ready to go back into the substitute business on Tuesday. And so all is good, all is well. Thank you.
Right. It's what's wonderful about the way that we embrace people coming in, is that we don't follow you out to your car and get you to sign a lifetime commitment, and you know, and it gets you to tithe and volunteer on the first Sunday or ever. We invite you into that at some point, but I think a lot of people I would have people come through the line when I was at a much bigger church and couldn't recognize everybody on a Sunday, and they come through, they say, "Oh, Reverend Larry, I'm so sorry, I haven't been here in 6 weeks," and I didn't want to say it to them, but I was like, I didn't even know that you weren't here, you know. I mean, unless you're a board member or you're like highly visible in the community in a big church, you know, I don't know. And I said, it's fine, it's so good to see you back. That's what love does. Love, you know, has a welcoming presence, and we don't know when it's right for someone to be on the path in this particular form. Do you? Did you know? I mean, you might have known once you were there, but how many of us go through a buffet line and we don't take everything that's offered? We take what we feed us and nourish us, and that's the way unity is. And I think a lot of people love that. You don't have to swallow a bunch of doctrine or dogma or anything, you know, in order to be welcomed here. So, for that sharing. Star.
I have many reasons for being in unity and staying with unity. And I got to tell you, in the last month where I haven't been able to be here,
Yes.
and watching on Zoom, it's no good. I mean, I love it. I keep in touch, but man, I just miss the hugs and and just talking to each other and sharing. Yeah, there's nothing like being in person. Nothing. And I also want to give a little testimony secondhand from my friend Joanne, who was here while I wasn't. And she said, well, she's kind of doing this church exploration. She's been coming with me to some interfaith events and kind of opening up to that. And so she's been, over the last couple months, going to different churches. And she says, your Unity Church was the most welcoming, loving, warm feeling church I have ever experienced.
Yeah,
So hopefully when she quits her hopping, that she'll hop to here. Anyway, so thank you.
Yeah, she was lovely. We embraced her. Wonderful, wonderful. Okay, well, we do need to wrap this up because we have a meeting. So let's do a guided prayer, bring our thoughts together. Then we'll close out our service, and we'll have a 5-minute comfort break, and then we'll be back in here to have our meeting. So just take a deep breath with me, if you will, and just gather in all of this good energy from all the multiplicity and diversity of sharing, with the central understanding that we are all one. From the one, the many. We give thanks for the spirit of love and togetherness and peace that is here in this community. We give thanks for all those who have gone before us, the generations of congregants who have found what many of us have found here, a home. We thank them for their contributions, their service, their dedication to sustaining this community. And we give thanks for all those gathered here who do the same, for recognizing why we are here can be the foundation for what we do going forward. So we thank you, God, that you give us a powerful why, that the recognition of the Spirit within us and the Spirit within each other is a powerful force for good, for any community. And we are grateful that it is powerful and felt here. For this gathering, and for all those before us and all those that will come after us, we are grateful. And we say, thank you, God. So it is.